Hello friends, welcome back to a new episode of Is it Imba or Do I Suck? Today we're going to be having a look at a Chinese replay which was sent to me by a fan from China. Zerg player in the Chinese server with 4.3k MMR. There was a game I played with a Terran who used mech. I was playing 2-base Mura build and kept leading in supply and economy and almost end the game as my BLoodlord kill his natural. But then he just defended all of my army with Thor and pushed me back. I found it so hard for Zerg to deal with those giant transformer in the late game. Thor is just the unit that need no micro, or maybe it's just too Imba. Thanks. Fans from China. So, not a very wild claim here, just a pretty mild claim. Thors are too strong, not even just mech in general, just the Thor. He seems to be doing fine in the mid and the late game. Just the moment there's too many Thors, they don't require any micro. So we're gonna be having a look here indeed, my Chinese friend. Let's have a look if the Thor is indeed imbalanced. Or if perhaps something else is going on here. So we just have a pretty standard opener out of the Terran. I think it was a gas first. Reaper seems a little bit late. eBay block or bunker block on the third base. On this base, in theory, you can take this base, but it's not that good, so I'd not really suggest it. You have speed on the way here. Yeah, seems pretty interesting to me actually. Just a pretty standard game, nothing weird going on yet. This is pretty much how usually CVT is being played. If your third gets blocked, a lot of the time we see Zergs actually playing for that 2-base Mura style. So they can, once their speed finishes and they get like 1 or 2 queens out, they can deny the bunker. But they don't have a third base during that time, so might as well keep mining gas a little bit and go straight into fast layer and then followed up by Mura list. And I guess that's what we're gonna be seeing here out of our Zerg. Meanwhile the Terran is just hopping into... Oh, what is this? So he built a tech lab with the factory, then he moved the barracks away to build a reactor and is building single Hellions from the factory. It's an interesting build order, I haven't seen much of that. Layer starts straight away, slight oversaturation in the main base, but nothing too bad. 3 queens moving to the front, there's 1 queen in the main as well, so 4 queens total so far. Wouldn't mind seeing some extra gases going down at this point, at least one of them, as a new round of drones should start happening. Alright, 3 gases, perhaps pushing it a bit, but that's fine. Third base could be going down, is going down, so a pretty solid build opener here for our Zerg player. Who is happily spreading creep as well. So far there's nothing to complain about, honestly. No Thors have entered the field yet either, so it's looking solid so far, I have to admit. As the layer is close to getting finished up, we will see the Spire start very soon. First Banshee is out, and Cloak is about halfway down. Second Banshee on the way as well. These Hellions shouldn't be able to do too much. Usually you push the Hellions away with your queens rather than with the lings. It's usually the way to go. But he's doing actually a pretty decent job trading. It's like 10 lings for I guess what was a Hellion or maybe a Reaper? A Reaper and a cancelled building, I guess. Third command center on the way as the 2-base Spire kind of starts up. First Banshee is out. Now, do we have any kind of scouting information? No, we have 0 scouting information so far. No Overseer being used on the other side. No Overseer being used at home. Usually the timing for blind spores is 4:30. I assume if you're getting an Overseer blindly, you need to get it around 4:40-ish. Something like that, or 4:45. Just to be in time for Cloak Banshee. Now it's going to be a little bit late. It's going to lose some workers. That's the first true mistake. Really not getting any scouting info. Overseer being late. Could have had it earlier. Spire's already pretty far done. So that's the timing. He already had a lair. He will need to pull away his drones. Second Banshee arrives on the third base as well. So a couple of more drones will be going down here. Not quite the way you want to open. Fusion Core is a follow-up for the Terran together with an armory. So seems to be going into Battlecruiser mech, if you ask me. This Banshee is also getting a couple of kills. Not sure how many workers. There's 4 workers still in total. A couple of extra links going down. This queen might fall. There's no detection currently over here. Overseer is on the way, so 1 more queen does end up falling. Lots of links going down as well, so good job here by the Terran, managing to really keep the Zerg behind. You see, Zerg hasn't been doing a great job so far, as he's down 10 workers. He doesn't have any mutas on the way yet. Defense of the Banshees has been pretty subpar, I have to admit. Now we finally have some Mutalisk on the way, but it took its time. So the early game is really, really bad here for Zerg. Yeah, just really bad. I mean, being down 13 workers. He does have 7 mutas on the way, but that's no way to live life, you know? As a Zerg player, you want to be usually ahead in workers, but if you're not even, then you might as well just leave the game. Most of the time. So we have a meching Terran here indeed, who will be going into a second armory as well. We have continued muta production from a Chinese Zerg player who cleans up what I can only assume to be the final Banshee. First battlecruiser has now arrived, and our Terran should be aware that there is indeed Mutalisks. Mutalisks are being sent around for some kind of harassment. There's no turrets yet. There's a lot of freaking mules though. Mules and scans absolutely in abundance if he wants to. 2 mines are burrowing. Turret will finish. So still a very bad situation here for the Zerg, right? Who is down 14, 15 workers. Gets a couple of workers, but not quite what you want. He really needed a little more than just this. Now the battlecruiser shows up and will push away these Mutalisks. We have turrets everywhere, we have mules. We see the income is heavily in favor of the Terran. No fort base yet for the Zerg. Only now getting 11 more drones. He does have 9 more larvae, so it means he was saving larvae up for a while already. It's funny because Zerg actually has... Like, the injects are difficult, but then you have the easiest spending mechanic, right? Like, you can just hold down a button and it automatically produces units. So he has been failing a little bit with that, but once again he has 9 larvae floating for no real reason. Still no fort base on the way as well. Good Ling run by coming in though, and there's not a lot of cars here to defend. Transforming into Hellbats, a couple of Banelings will try to get something done, but battlecruiser will shut that down as well. Muta's looking for openings left, right and center. Might not be able to find them as there's still 2 mines here. Good target fighter on the stack left. I'm not sure if he's aware of the mines or just getting lucky that he didn't fly any further in. Here's the first Thor. Will be able... Well, actually won't be able to scare these up, so it's going to be taking quite a beating.
Is under attack.
As after all of this fighting, 19 workers have gone down, or have been killed by our Zerg player, but he's still on even workers. We still just have Lynx and Mutas flying across the map and running across the map trying to get some damage done. Really not thinking about the future as well. Third base is late. Creep spread has been advancing, slowly but surely. We get a 4th and a 5th at the same time. I don't mind because they are so late, but this fort should have been done a long time ago already. Our Zerg player should be on 76, 80 workers at this point, and then taking a 5th base, trying to get into that 88, 80, 89 worker count, really, where you can start throwing banelings into your opponent consistently. 3rd hatchery, wow. He's going to be saving a lot of larvae. Even now he already has 12 larvae, so having some trouble spending his money, I guess. Otherwise the triple hatchery doesn't make a lot of sense. He does have good map vision. He's doing a pretty decent job, honestly. 7 more workers on the way, so now really trying to even up that worker count. You can see mineral income still behind by almost 2,000. There's a lot of mules on the map. There's a bunch of battlecruisers out already. Together with the Thors should definitely be able to deal with all of those Mutalisks. Whoop. Bunch of Mutas do end up falling. So far 5 Mutas have gone down. Units lost is still in favor of the Terran, and so is the Eco. So Terran looking spicy. 16 more drones are on the way. Do we have any upgrades? We have +1 so far for the Mutas, no +2 on the way. Even though he does have 60 Mutalisks already, we're not seeing any advanced tech. We're not seeing an infestation pit. Oh, here we go. It's taking his time though. The transitions, the drone build up, everything is a little bit too slow so far. And even though it feels for the Zerg like he's been doing a lot of damage, you know, killed a lot of workers, the trades actually have been relatively easy. Even actually, there's more units lost here for the Zerg than there is for the Terran. Or resources lost rather. 11 more workers, so now finally getting into the perfect number of workers, I feel like, as we have an ever increasing count of Thors. Now the problem here for the Zerg player is that in order to deal with Thors, you're either gonna be needing most of the time some kind of Viper to either Blinding Cloud, or you're gonna be needing a lot of units just trying to get surround, catch them off guard. I've seen Ultras being played against them, not the greatest a lot of the time. Lurker sometimes is an option as well in combination with Vipers, but pure Muta usually isn't the answer, as Thor is pretty much the hard counter of the Muta list, right? So, and just pure Broodlord also isn't the answer, because Broodlord lost their range in the latest post-BlizzCon patch, in which now Thors do a lot of damage to Broodlords. Or well, they are actually able to do their damage to Broodlord, they're able to get in range, which definitely is going to be an issue here for our Chinese Zerg player, who still doesn't really have any intent of attacking. We see the Terran very intelligently scanning. He's like, that's a layer, alright, that's a layer, you know what, I'm just gonna sit back, not do anything, max out. And then once I max out, I'll think about having some action on the map, but not before that. As I say that, he moves out on the map. To be fair, he's pretty close to being maxed. He does have a nice army. There's not that many Hellions, which I wouldn't mind with this link count. This seems like a very bold play here by the Zerg. Holy crap, what was this? So another 3k resources lost for a Zerg who was behind in eco all game long, basically. Now he's up in eco, he's mining more minerals, he is mining slightly less gas, but still looking pretty healthy when it comes to his resource collection. A single turret, wouldn't mind seeing a second turret here for the Terran, and the Terran decides to move out. Mutalisks are doing some harass, but have these Mutalisks really paid for themselves? I'm not quite sure, honestly. So far we've lost 5 Mutalisks. I think a bunch of workers have gone down. I guess these Mutalisks have kind of paid for themselves. The problem is the Mutalisks aren't going to be able to kill this army, right? We're gonna need something else, and I mean Banelings are an option, and Lings. It sounds silly, but if you actually just blow up the Hellbats, Lings do a really good job against Thors, especially if those Lings have 3-3 upgrades and Adrenal Glands, which at this point the Zerg definitely has the money for, but for some reason he is not researching it. We're not seeing any of the tier 3 upgrades, for whatever reason. Adrenal Glands, of course, is a massive increase of damage, so very good on the Lings. You have 3-3 on the way here for the Terran, as well as building armor. You see the Zerg moving forward. Does manage to get a good surround on a bunch of the Thors. We see Hellbats being morphed as well, and I mean the Zerg is gonna be able to do some kind of damage here soon. No, just gets pushed away. Actually evens up the units lost a little bit, so getting closer and closer to that Terran. Catch a bunch of Hellbats. Tries to kill a Thor with pure Banelings, not quite the most cost efficient trades. As you see him pulling or falling behind by 2k once again. Terran, however, is not mining as much anymore, so you can have slightly less cost-efficient trades if then you just follow up with a lot of pressure on your opponent's bases and make sure he can't really remax easily. In a split map scenario, efficiency is the only thing that matters, but if you're not in a split map scenario, then it's fine to take cost-inefficient trades if you're mining a lot more than your opponent, and you're gonna be mining more for the rest of the game. So, weird blink across the map by the Terran, but it's gonna win him some time actually. You see the Zerg is struggling to defend here, but once the Mutas come back, this probably shouldn't be an issue. A bunch of drones will end up going down, but I mean, with just pure Ling Bane, this kind of should be fine, I believe, to defend. It's even going in. These are not the most cost-efficient trades. If you have Banelings rolling into Thors, like yeah. Even after losing those battle cruisers, you can see that the Terran still is kind of far ahead now again in the unit loss tab, so the last few fights have been good for him. We do have no, we don't have a greater spy, we just have +3 on air. We have a bunch of Corruptors, which are now going to be practically useless. The only anti-ground there is are 32 Lings and what appears to be about 7 Mutalisks, so Greater Spire is pretty much a must at this point. You see a couple of Banelings on the way, which is nice. Creep spread has been pretty good. But we're kind of missing the tech switches into faster tech, into those 3-3 upgrades, into the Adrenal Glands. Rebuilding drones at this point would be a wise decision. Instead we're seeing 3 Ultralisks being built. But At this point, we're gonna need to see efficient trades for the Zerg, because income is completely even, supply is completely even, and the army of Terran obviously is pretty strong, so we're gonna need to see some more finesse in the army of the Zerg, and that doesn't really seem to be the case so far, honestly. Like, ultras are nice, but you're gonna need something with it, like some kind of Viper, some more support. And ideally with ultras, your plan is to kill like outside bases with ultras and bailing run-bys. In order to do that though, you need very good economy in order to replenish quickly, and the economy is just lacking. 12 drones are good, but it's once again a little late. It feels like all of the tech switches, all of the periods where he's droning, just hit slightly too late in order to truly do something. And these corruptors have been pretty much useless so far, and now they're gonna fly into, well, the Great Wall of Turrets over here. Meant to keep these corruptors out, doing a good job. Still no Greater Spire on the way, even though +3 is done at this point. Now, I wouldn't mind a couple of Broodlords, even though they aren't too great usually against Thors. Perhaps with some Viper play you can make it work. Once again, we have only 7 Mutas over here trying to do something as well. 86 workers is fine. But Zerg really isn't... It feels like just everything is happening slightly too slow. He keeps letting the Terran set up an extra base. He keeps letting the Terran get away with moving out and just getting decent fights again and again and again. And once again, Terran gets this base, builds another command center, starts moving forward for this top base as well. And Zerg really needs to do something to deny these outside bases, because if you allow Terran to just keep moving like this, like if you look at the spread of the Terran at the moment, we see 2 Terrans or 2 tanks over here, and this base really only being defended by a single planetary. Like, this is a vulnerable base. Zerg realizes that and goes in. That's exactly what he should have been doing, but he should have been doing it a long time ago. He should constantly be looking for vulnerable places and going in. Because it's very difficult to straight up engage this army and get a very cost efficient trade if all you're working with is 4 ultras, Lynx Banes and 6 Mutas with 3 overseers. Like, that's just not good enough. You could start thinking about adding some investors for Neural as well to take over Thors. Like, there's loads of ways that you can play and that you can transition, and we're just not seeing it from the Zerg player, who, well, technically is still on a very rudimentary army. The 12 Broodlords, once again, they're good. The problem with the Broodlords is that the moment that Thors actually get underneath them, that the Thors absolutely wreck them. So you need something to stop the Thors, whether that's Neural, whether that's a lot of links that can connect and basically kill the Thors. But you can't let the Thors get underneath Broodlords, because they just get destroyed because of their range. I like that these Mutas are still alive, though. I actually do like that. Forcing a lot of turrets, even a 3 Thor split. I'm not quite sure why that is the case. So we see the Terran completely moving out, and the Zerg's like, oh, I think I could catch this. I think the Zerg can catch this as well. It's going to be able to do so. Gets a lot of the tanks for free here. And there's only 4 Thors really, and the Thors are not focusing on the Broodlords now. There is some damage being done onto these ultras, but not that much. So this was a very good fight for the Zerg player, but we see there's still a big bang for the Terran. There's still a couple of Thors, I believe, up here, which will be coming back right now. And this is kind of what I mean. Like, the moment a Thor gets underneath the Broodlords, you see, even if there's a lot of Broodlords, a Thor still, you know, he got 1 Broodlord, almost got a second one. So imagine if the Thors, like, if there's no ground support, Thors actually completely wreck Broodlords. There's also no additional anti-air, or well, just no anti-air whatsoever. So a single Viking or a single battlecruiser will be able to kind of go unchecked. Now, this is still a very good situation for the Zerg player, honestly. I'm absolutely no clue how he's going to be losing this game. But he's honestly going to be one of the biggest throws if he does manage to lose this one. Because he's up 20 workers, he's up about 40 supply. He can basically kill all of these mineral lines for free. Instead, he decides to push up the ramp without anti-air, without his links with his army. Does he have any links? He has a bunch of links. Without his ultra list, just pure Broodlord, which is not even dying against Thors, honestly. Like, these Thors, sure, they get a couple of kills. Most of those are, of course, Broodlings. And they will be able to get, like, an old Broodlord. But look at this bad boy. This is a battle cruiser, and this battle cruiser has been in the business of killing Broodlords for a long time. This is definitely the MVP here, who I'm pretty sure managed to kill about 7 or 8 Broodlords at this point, even though he only has +1 air attack. So this really wasn't so much Thors, as it was just there being no anti-air here for the Zerg player. Now 2 Thors do end up popping. We still have the Zerg being up like 30 workers, 3k income. But the Terran keeps expanding and the Zerg just keeps rallying unit after unit straight into the meat grinder. You see, unit loss is actually really even, and I can bet you after that fight in the middle, I think Zerg must have been up like 10, 11k or something like that. It's just, he doesn't have the right unit composition, but even with the wrong unit composition of fighting pure Thor, he still should be able to do it just by having better unit movement, like trying to deny bases rather than walking into a meat grinder, into a sim city in Thor that, you know, just pops out of the factory. Honestly, still an okay position for the Zerg. I'm not saying it's great anymore, I'm just saying it's okay at this point. Now why is that? Because we have a lot of workers for the Zerg, but we don't really have enough bases to saturate them. So you have this bottom base which can still be saturated this base, so that's 1, 2, 3. Actually, I think he does have enough bases. It's about 4.5 base or 3.5 base that he still has available. With 81 worker, that should be kind of fine. So he just didn't really distribute his workers well. Now these stores are more corruptors are being built for some reason. So we now have 21 corruptors. And nothing that shoots the ground, except these spines and 3 banelings. And all he can build at this point is turn those into Broodlords against a pure Thor army. This is the classic case of the don't have any anti-air units when there's air, and then don't have any anti-ground units when our opponent switches into ground. He just got completely outplayed unit composition wise. 1 battlecruiser managed to kill 7 Broodlords, and then 7 Thors managed to go absolutely insane, because the Zerg for some reason decided to only build corruptors. Now, I'm not one to complain quickly, but I feel like at this point someone needs to explain our good Zerg friend here that certain units can and other units can't shoot up. Perhaps we can put in a little diagram to show exactly how that works. Maybe explain it by drawing or something like that, but this is not really the way to do it, my friend. There is 9 banelings, there's 2 ultras, and there's 2 broodlords on the way, but 13 corruptors completely useless. They're just gonna get wrecked by Thors. Ultras are getting wrecked by Thors, and yeah, I understand why he thinks Thors are in, like corruptors can't kill them at all. Like, I spent what, like 4k resources on these corruptors, pretty expensive, pretty beefy, supply intensive unit. These Thors just absolutely destroyed them, like how is that even possible? I guess pissing on another command center. Don't think that's quite gonna do it though. At this point, the worker count for the Zerg is lower. Supply is pretty close. Army supply is much more in favor of the Terran. Problem is a lot of the army supply is still on these useless corruptors. Yeah, I'm not quite sure if this is the game you want to be complaining about. I am not quite sure if this is the game you want to be complaining about. Couple of Ks going into this hatchery and slaughtering every drone that was still left mining. No pretending over here by our Terran player. Of this base mining, we have 2 bases mining. We have what, 8 Thors going ham on a single ultra. We have a couple of broodies. Let's see it. More Ks moving forward. Now, I have to say, I haven't read any Chinese in quite some time, but this word over here, those 4 characters, this means imbalanced or overpowered. And this is Thor. It's the symbol for Thor, all of these combined. And then this means Terran. So Thor, imbalanced, Terran. And that's just one word. Because this guy speaks very fast. So Well, let's look at the claim, shall we? Let's look at the claim. And what better way to look at the claim than enlarging my face? Alright. Number 1. Early game, hot garbage. Absolutely terrible. Down what, 15 workers. Like, I'm pretty sure this is not how you play 2-base Muta. I'm not a Zerg expert, but I don't think you're supposed to be down 15 workers. I don't think you're supposed to be floating 9-10 large. I'm not even sure how it happened. I can't even complain about his injects, because his injects were quite good. He just wasn't using the larva. I don't even know how you can do that. It's a different kind of impressive. So he didn't use his larva. He was just down workers, forgot his 4th base, forgot his 5th, then builds 3 hatcheries at the same time. Tags into hive, forgets that he has a hive, I think, because for like 3 minutes of having his hive, he gets no 3-3, no adrenal glands, no ultra cavern, no greater spire, not a single viper, basically no hive unit. Like, I'm not like, I understand if you really like Lings and Banes, but at least upgrade them on hive stack. Then afterwards he managed to accidentally catch his opponent off guard in the middle of the map, kills 20 things for free, then decides to go into the natural with BLoodlords without any anti-air, loses 8 of them to a single battlecruiser, keeps attacking into the same base where units are spawning, just into the meat grinder, loses the 10k resources that he won in the fight before, and then as a response to seeing a single battlecruiser and a single Viking, he builds 21 corruptors, which then are fighting against 9 Thors. Then is surprised that the corruptors don't shoot down. So I think I can do this with my hands actually. So imagine you have a unit down here and it can only shoot forward, not up. That is not a unit that you want against a unit that is flying, because it doesn't shoot up, it's just shooting straight. Now if you have a unit in the air that only shoots forward and not down, and your opponent has a lot of units that are down here, and the unit only shoots forward, that is also a unit you don't want to get. And if there's an air unit of your opponent, and you have air units, you might think that's good, because air units can always attack, they can attack each other. Not necessarily true. The Broodlord is a special unit that can only attack down. It's the Broodlord. Shoots down, the battlecruiser shoots up. I hope that made sense to you. If it didn't, I have a couple of crayons and a drawing board, and I can explain a little more slowly. So be sure to send me an email then, as I do want you to get something out of this. So yeah, you suck. Yeah, this wasn't imbalanced. It wasn't even the Thor, mate. It was the battlecruiser. It really was the battlecruiser. The battlecruiser lost you the game. It wasn't the Thors. So you were wrong in that as well. You really sucked. Yeah, that was it. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you did enjoy this episode of Is It Imba or Do I Suck? For the smart guys out there, they see that I was wearing the same shirt now as I was last week. That's because I recorded 2 videos in one day. Now that's hard working. If you want to support me in my hard-working journey, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Smash the like button. And I'll subscribe to my second channel, which is down in the description, down in the sidebars. It's everywhere, and it's great. So see y'all, and bye bye. Thanks for watching and all that.